Today I'm going to show you how to make pumpkin cheesecake. I know that may sound a little strange, but it is delicious. If you are a fan of pumpkin pie, you will love this cheesecake. If you are not a big fan of pumpkin pie, or even if you don't like pumpkin pie at all, you might still like this cheesecake. The first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 350. Okay, before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of information. Um, for some reason, making homemade cheesecake seems to intimidate a few people. And I mean, I've made it and the sugar has come out crunchy and just weird. But one trick that I learned is your cream cheese and your eggs must be room temperature. When I make sure that my eggs and cream cheese are room temperature, I never have a problem with my sugar being crunchy after it's done baking. So I have had my cream cheese and my eggs sitting on my counter since about, I don't know, maybe 10 o'clock, 10:30, and it's 2:30 now. So at least 4 hours. And that's my oven. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to beat the cream cheese and the sugar until it's pretty creamy. Baking is one of those things where you don't really want to eyeball the ingredients. You kind of want to be as precise as possible. Oops. Okay. Grab a paper towel. One. Two. Three. I had a little bit more than 3/4 of a cup of sugar in my measuring cup. Okay, now you want to beat this until it's relatively smooth. Now I'm using my whisk. I recommend you have a spatula or something on hand to scrape the sides of the bowl. Okay. Okay, I think that's good enough. Now you want to add your pumpkin puree and your spices. It calls for 15 ounces, a 15-ounce can. We have a large can, so I have to count out 15 ounces. Okay, it's about 15 ounces. And our spices. So I'm going to put in the nutmeg, the cinnamon, and the ginger. And now we want to beat in our eggs along with all of this. One. Now we're going to beat. Now before I beat the other egg in, I'm going to scrape the sides. I'm going to go ahead and put my other egg in there. Now we're going to add the last ingredient, which is salt. And now we're going to beat it until it's creamy, which is pretty much creamy already. Now the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to pour our batter as evenly as possible into our prepared pastry shells. I say too much. Now they're supposed to be 8-inch shells. My husband got 9-inch because I'm sure that's all they had. But that's okay. As long as it's even, there'll be a little bit of extra pastry to it, that's usually not a problem. So I will be back. I hope they're in frame. Now I'm going to pour the cheesecake mixture into the pie crusts. Now normally you would have a graham cracker crust for cheesecake, but for the pumpkin cheesecake, the pastry actually works better because this is the kind of crust you'd actually have on a pumpkin pie. So let's see here. See if I can do this. Okay. Sink. Spread this out a bit. Okay, now we're going to put them in the oven for 50 minutes to start. After the 50 minutes, we'll check them. You put a clean knife. I would use a steak knife because you want a pointy. I guess it doesn't really matter as long as it's metal. You'll stick it in the center. When it comes out clean, that's when it's done. If it does not come out clean, I would continue putting it back in the oven for 5 minutes at a time, checking it every time. You can't really tell by if it's browned or not. You really have to check. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these into the oven, and I'll see you back in 50 minutes. Let's see. Okay, I know there's a little bit on there, but that is relatively clean compared to how it was coming out before. So it'll still continue cooking a bit even after you take them out. So I'm going to go ahead and take them out now. I'll be back in a second. I need 2 hands to do this. And these are my pumpkin cheesecakes. You have to let them cool completely before you can cut them or even put them in the fridge.